Damn, girl. I'm so funny, I know. But your money beliefs are jamming all of your money up. Now, what if your money making potential was only blocked by one belief, just like this dam that you see right here?
We're going to go over 5 money beliefs that are keeping you broke, how you might see them showing up in your everyday life, and a new thought that can shift your broke belief into flowing money. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm a marketing strategist with Momentum Studio, and I have lovely Kai all day over there, Momentum Coach. And we are here today to break those money beliefs out and help you to get past them.
Before we jump in, if money beliefs is something that you're working on or you're just struggling in general with money, then I would definitely say join the group all month long. We are busting money beliefs, and we do Monday moves. So every Monday we are going step by tiny step through how to bust these beliefs to create momentum, right? So every step builds on the next one until the end, where all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I can see how this is working. And so if you are really struggling with this, join us in the group. This is something that we're doing right now, and you can always catch up. So we haven't started, depending on when you're watching this video, right? We haven't started yet, but you can always catch up even if you're watching this afterwards. So join us. It'll be fun. Yay. Now, what are we going through? We're going through 5 of the money beliefs. There was a lot, but yes, we had to bring it down to just 5.
So number 1, you have to work hard for your money.
Both of us in our minds right now are thinking of that song. You work hard for your money. Every time we say this one, that's the first song that comes into our mind. So sorry. So you have to work hard for your money. Aside from the song that brings up, what are the thoughts that come into your head that give you a clue if this is one of your beliefs? So some of the thoughts that you might have are, I got to pay my dues. Hard work will get you there. It's supposed to be hard. So this might be a thought. Yes, but this might be a thought that you believe, whether or not it's something you were taught or something that maybe you've watched happen in life, right? You've watched your parents work hard. You've kind of learned this as you grew up. And so this is something that penetrates how you view your work and your how to make money. Right. So instead of understanding the value of what you do, you're placing value in how much you do. Right. And why is this bad? Because it creates, someone that feels like they have to overgive, over deliver just to get a little. And it causes burnout. It takes the fun out of what you do. Right. And so what are some other things that we would be talking about for this one, Tessa?
Well, you mean how it shows up in everyday life? Yes. Okay. So the ways that you would see this in everyday life, obviously, if you're working hard and you're not seeing your friends or family and you're waiting for that one day, I know I do this a lot. I'm always thinking, well, I'm a workaholic. I mean, I just had someone that was in the parking lot say, do you live here? So I am. And that's just, I learned that from my dad too. So how I see it is that I am doing work and have very few moments to spend with family. And when I do, I'm probably still processing it, dreaming about retirement, and like everything's always, I will have that someday. Like I'm going to be able to not work someday.
Yes. So I would tell you, for Tessa, her boyfriend is smart, because if he wants like her undivided attention, he takes her to the woods and camping where there's no reception, so that she can't work. Because if she has it, she will work, which is horrible, because then she's ignoring him.
Yes. But I do think that I learned that from my family. And so I love that Kai has some of the shift on how to make this better. And it is, well, I'm going to let her say it and then I will.
And I think one of the things that I want to point out about this belief and why it's keeping you broke is, and we're going to get to how do we fix our money beliefs. Well, one of the things that I find is, and we'll go through this in a little bit more detail, but I really want you guys to think about this. You have to work hard for your money. If this were really true, that means anybody and everybody who worked hard would be rich. And we can see in society that that's just not the case. You see that some of the hardest working people are maybe just scraping by, or yeah, maybe they make enough, but they don't make enough to leave that legacy behind or to make the impact like they want to, right? So I want you to really think about that if you're adopting this. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't work hard. Right? I'm not saying, hey, be a slacker. That's not what we're saying. But your value is not in how many hours you give or breaking your back or neglecting your life and your health. That's not where your value lies. And that's why this is so important, and why it's one of the top things that we put here is that you really need to understand that there is value in what you do and what you offer, more than there is value in how much of your life you give up to do it, right? And so that's something that we really want you to understand and embrace, right? Because I think a lot of us, especially our generation, grew up with this ideal, right? Of if I work hard, I'm going to make it to this level. And so we work hard. We're workaholics, as Tessa said, both of us are. My husband has to be like, hey, can you come and hang out with the kids? I'm like, okay. and I love my kids, but it's just, you get into this, I don't know if you guys are the same, but you have your blinders on, you're working and it's just like, I just got to get this done. And there will always be more work to get done. Right. And so I find this a lot, like with people that I worked with in corporate, a lot of people who think like this would always think, well, I just have to work hard right now and then I can enjoy retirement. So if you have that thought, like one day I'm going to have fun, one day I'll hang out with my kids, one day, et cetera, whatever that fill in the blank is. This is probably your thought process, right? And so what is the shift? So instead of, I have to pay my dues or have to really work hard for my money, the shift in thinking is work smarter, not harder, right? So if this is an issue for you, put it on a little sticky tab, put it on your computer or wherever it is that you do work or get lost in work. Or have even an alarm that comes on, but use that shift to remind you that the value is in what you do, not in how much of your soul is sucked out of you to do it. Okay. So that was the first one. Yeah.
Sorry, I just have to say on this one little note, and that's that I love working smarter, not harder. In fact, I think that's the tagline that's on my website for Ashford Digital is, smart marketing. And when I have to focus on that. And when I do, I realize that some of the tasks that I'm doing I can create a video and give it out. And that saved me hours and hours a week just to have a training video that goes out before I have a meeting with somebody. So that's a great example of working smarter, not harder. And I actually felt guilty after I made that shift and I had time in my calendar. And guess what I did? I started filling it back up. So there's a lot more that comes into this money belief and being able to have that work-life balance. So we're going to talk about that more, but that's a great example of where it instantly saved me lots of time and honestly got the same result. It wasn't better if I sat and did this one session every single time with the person in person. So, all right. Number 2, money is a limited resource.
That's a good one. So I'm sure that a lot of us have this thinking, even if it's not deliberate. And I don't know, I'm a very visual person. So when I think of this or I think of money, sometimes I think of it like there's one pot, right? Like one pot of gold. And if I take money out, then that's less in the pot. right? But just like a pot of gold is supposed to be magical, so is it, right? It's not a limited resource, so to speak, right? We're constantly exchanging money, constantly changing hands. Like money doesn't just stay put. It's something that goes out and comes in. So you have to think about how money is very, I guess, circulatory, if you think of it that way, right? It's like the blood in your body. It's just going in and out, and it's creating this network of life, right? Feeding people, paying people so they can pay their rents. Like there's all of this stuff. So besides that, you might identify with this if any of these thoughts are yours. So maybe you're not visual like me and imagine the pot of gold that's emptying, but maybe these are some thoughts that you can identify with. There's not enough to go around. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Ooh,
how many of you have heard that?
Common.
Put it in the comments below because I guarantee you have heard that.
I
right?
think my parents used to say that to us all the time.
Yeah.
It's like money, it's the turn off the lights. Money doesn't grow on trees. Like that's really what
I am guilty. And I catch myself saying it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what? And I literally think to myself, what am I teaching my kids when I say things? Right. So some other thoughts that you might identify with are the rich just get richer. They have so much money, they should help everyone. Okay, so you'll see why those are linked to money as a limited resource. But here's what you should really think about, that if you don't think that there's enough to go around, what is happening in your head? It's creating a scarcity mindset where it's about competition and desperation is at the source, right? Versus abundance and collaboration, right? A lot of people who are afraid, I know you're going to think, oh, this isn't a money belief, but in reality, it is the symptom, right? It's because we have this belief, this is how we act out. Think of it that way. And that might look like, oh, I can't ask them for help, or I don't want them to know what I'm doing. Because if they're going to see what I'm doing and then they're going to do it, and then they're going to take all my clients. Or so when we have that type of mentality, right, it's all about the competition, there's not enough to go around, then we start to design our business in that way. There's no room for collaborators and friendships in your field, which also means that you're kind of alone, right? And that's a horrible place to be.
Yeah. And I think that the idea, that desperation that you were talking about, when we have a scarcity mindset that it is limited, and our money is getting low in our checking account, we're more willing to take those bad clients. We're more willing to take on more work that we don't need. We're in a place of desperation. And when we make those choices in our business from that desperation place, it gets harder and harder to get out of. So I know that when I start thinking that in my head, I have to shift. And Kai and I talked about this before we chose this subject, but at some point, well, we're going to talk about it at the end too, but at some point I was able to shift this, and it took a lot of time and repetitive nature for me to get past this. But this was very much 100% where I was. I would always be, as soon as, the money dwindled down, then I was taking everything and anything that I could get. So if you're seeing that in your business, don't worry, we have a solution for you on that. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit here.
Yes. And to add to that, like, it is all of us go through this. This may not be the belief that's holding you back or keeping you broke, but to some extent, when you see that your bank account is low, when you feel like, hey, you're stuck between, is it a rock and a hard place? I never know this.
I love Kai. She does come. She's like, is this the phrase? I'm trying to figure it out. Yes. But
my husband's always telling me I say things wrong. So, which is true. I'm always like, no, and I'm like adamant that I'm right. And then I look it up. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. Okay. So that being said, the other thing is, what happens is, no matter who you are, whether this is the belief, right? The belief holding you back, all of us experience this at some point, right? Where that fear comes up, and I've done it, a $20,000 job I've taken at, half, a quarter, because I was like, I gotta do this in order to bring in the income. So now I'm working all of these hours, making what I would have made like in less than a month for 6 months of work. right? So you have to think about that, because then what does it do? It creates this vicious cycle, right? Because then I got to take on another job, and then I'm now working harder to make more money, right? All of these beliefs start to roll into each other if we're not careful.
Yes.
Now, earlier we said the other two thoughts that come with this are that the rich just get richer, and that they have so much money, they should be helping everybody out, right? Now, I don't want you to comment below if you believe this. I get it. I know a lot of people, and I've thought this when I was younger, probably in my teens, I used to think this. And so why is this related to money is a limited resource? Because we're now putting the responsibility onto other people rather than owning it ourselves. If I don't think that I can make that money, if I don't think that I can bring in enough wealth to be influential and provide impact like I want to, then I'm going to put it on somebody else. It's not my fault, it's their fault. They need to do this. So there is a sense of responsibility, right? And we're kind of like I don't know what the word is, but shoving it aside, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then now it's not my responsibility. When in reality, if you didn't believe that money was a limited resource, then why wouldn't you try to be the change itself? Why wouldn't you try to make more money so that you could be the person to help others, right?
That's what I want to do.
Solution in your mind versus blaming it on other people and putting that responsibility onto them. Now, what does this look like in our lives? How does it look when you look at everyday life?
Well, I mean, I think maybe you can explain a couple of these too, but I make enough money. Oh, you know what? I'm going to cut this out. You do that one. I don't know why I can't get it.
You want to put up your clip just so you know where you're cutting it up?
Okay, you do it.
So what does this look like in everyday life? Well, you're probably going to think of, there are more thoughts that kind of come into this, like it's not for me. If I make a lot of money, everyone's going to expect me to take care of them. We have these fears that come up. If I make money, then how about the people who are poor? They're not going to have money. Like, as though we're taking from their pot. Like they don't even have the same pot. They're in a whole nother world. You know what I mean? But we have this idea attached to it. And because of these ideas, we live in this fear, right? Of, what if this happens? How will people treat me? Because we think that there's not enough to go around. So if there isn't enough to go around, then all of a sudden in my own life, I'm pretty much avoiding trying to make more money. I might want to make more money in the sense like, yeah, it's a great idea. I'd love to, have this much money. I'd love to pay off the bills, but does that actually happen? And I'm going to tell you, for a lot of these, what happens is self-sabotage kicks in.
I was going to say,
we can't figure out why it's happening. Like, why can't I get traction? Why can't I get there? And it's because you have this deep rooted belief that is self-sabotaging you, right? Mm-hmm. So you might not even recognize it. And when you don't, the self-sabotage is even more covert. It's like a little ninja coming in and you're like, I just did all this. What just happened? Right. And hey, that was me, pat on the back. My self-saboteur is getting into the game and trying to take me out, right? So just something to think about.
This, yeah, and I see this one for myself in that when I think that, when I'm putting those thoughts out and thinking it's a limited resource, again, like I'm taking on too much work or I'm taking on clients that I'm trying to solve this problem. But more than that, I feel like it's, you see this pattern. You talk a lot about, proving something's true. Well, we tend to see, if we're focusing on that, we're seeing that, hey, I have this extra expense now, and I have this, and I have that. And it's like, it is limited. I got some and now it's gone. And it's just like this thing you do in your head, which is doing the math. And when you do the math and you have to do your accounting, you have to understand your numbers. But when you immediately think, I got money, now why is it, what's going to happen that is going to take it away? And I found myself falling into that trap a lot more. It's like, oh, I got it. Now it's gone. I have to fix my car, whatever it is. Right. But when you think of it as, okay, well, then I'm just going to have that extra source of money is going to come in. I'm not stuck. So anyway, we'll go through that. But I think I love the shift, and that's there's more than enough. And when you believe that and you seriously keep recorrecting yourself, then you can make this limited resource belief go away.
Yes, 100%.
More on that in a couple minutes, though. Yeah. So we're going to go into number 3, more money, more problems.
Okay, so what are the thoughts that are attached to more money, more problems? Do you actually think this? You might not, but if any of these thoughts you can relate to them, this might be you, right? So if I make more money, I'll have to pay more taxes. You have no idea how often I hear this one. Everyone will have their hand out. I don't want my kids to be spoiled, entitled brats. If I want to make more money, I need to build a team, and that's just more stress. And what are some other things? With the good comes the bad. There can't be rainbows without the rain. Like all of these thoughts applied to money can really tell you how you view money, right? You do view money as more money, more problems, right? And so what does this look like in our lives, or how does this affect us, right? So money means more problems instead of more freedom. That's often the thought, even if we don't think it. Now, we might look at people and want that freedom, but we don't realize that we have this thought holding us back. Right. So especially if you're on that side where you don't necessarily think more money, more problems. So maybe you're on the side where you're like, well, in order to make more money, I'm going to have to do this. And it's just going to be more work and more stress. You've already associated it, even unknowingly, to more money, more problems. Right.
It's very because dysfunctional.
Yes, it's a dysfunctional relationship that we just don't recognize. Now, if you truly believe this, you're going to, again, self-sabotage will kick in. So you'll see self-sabotage almost in all of these will kick in. Now, the key is obviously awareness, which is why we're talking about it today. But what else happens in this? It limits your growth, right? And it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy, and it will always hold you back. You technically, not the thought, but you are holding yourself back when you hold on to these belief systems. Because what this might look like now, I know we're kind of like speeding through this now, but we want to make sure we get this all in for you.
We want to get to the end where we tell you what to do.
Yes. But what this might look like for you or in your life is that you make the easy decisions instead of the hard ones, instead of the hard moves, right? You're focused on the what if this happens versus what's possible. Absolutely. And I want you guys to really think about that. If you're constantly thinking about, well, what if this happens? And what if I hire this thing and that happens? Or what if I do this and then this stress happens? I want you to think about what's possible, what's on the other side, because I hear people say this all the time. Well, there's nobody good to hire. There are so many aligning thoughts that we don't even attach to the money beliefs that we have no idea are keeping us back from really creating that impact and that wealth and leaving that legacy behind, right? So I really want you guys to dig in. But what I want to say about this is, if you focus on what's possible instead of, the what ifs, then you'll start to shift your thinking. And instead of more money, more problems, it becomes more money, more resources to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Right?
I know when part of my money shift in scarcity and all of those pieces, one of the big ones was how to have a bigger team. Like growth means having a bigger team. And I 100% was on this boat of more money, more problems. But when I was able to focus on like, I'm able to help people, so many more people, my money is flowing through me and not just to me, I was able to shift this a lot. But I think that shift, more money, more resources to make a difference is huge.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's
okay. So number 4, money is the root of all evil. Oh, I know this one's a good one. So many, I have this, I've heard this a lot, and I know I'm a spiritual person, and I believe in, obviously this is something that's said in the Bible, and it's been a kind of a contention, something that I've struggled with for a long time. And Kai puts it into such a great perspective. But I do think that some people might think money makes people bad, or wanting more money or wanting to be successful is bad. So I'll let Kai explain it because she does such a good job.
So that's her way of pawning it off on me, guys.
Well, no, I mean, there's lots of things. So thoughts that might come into mind, right?
Yes.
That money changes people and I should just be happy with what I have. I actually, that one is one where I have to really realize that I have so much more potential. It happens a lot to me. Being content, like I just should be content with what I have. I shouldn't be trying to be greedy, or if I do want more, I am greedy. Yeah. And so all those thoughts, they're really common.
Or rich people don't care about anyone but themselves. Like we always think that rich people are the evil in the world, right? So a lot of these are attached to money is the root of all evil. Now, like Tessa said, there's actually two sides, right? Which one side is that money makes people bad, right? The rich people don't care about anyone else, or, they're greedy, whatever that looks like. And then there's the other side, which is wanting more money is bad, right? It's an evil thing to want more money. So I should just be happy with what I have and be content. Now, being content is not a problem. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? You should be happy with where you're at and hope for more growth or whatever that looks like. But oftentimes people who have this belief system, they are attaching, they are using, I should just be happy with what I have and be content as a way to not pursue more. Right. So rather than it being a way to give them perspective and be happy with the life that they're having, it's more of a cap. Right. So this is where I'm at. I should just be happy. I shouldn't keep going for more. Right. And a lot of times I'm going to tell you, this is something that I really struggled with. And I didn't realize that I struggled with this until like probably a year ago. And I was kind of digging into this whole money belief thing, right? Is this real? Is this just woo-woo crap, whatever? And I really dug in and I was like, why do I have such a hard time? Like, my thought process around money. And I realized that I'm very much, I had this idea, just like Tessa did growing up, that, money is the root of all evil. And all of these thoughts are some of the thoughts that I've had, right? Money changes people because I've seen that. And so that was evidence that that's true, right, in my life. And so what happened was I realized that I always felt like there had to be balance. Right. So money is the root of all evil, is closely tied actually to the one that we just talked about, more money, more problems. So they're actually like holding hands. Think of it, frolicking together.
All of these are all frolicking together. They're all
That's true. That's true. But these are like, they're almost like twins, but not. Right. And so for me, what happened is I would think like, okay, if I get more money, there's got to be balance. Right. So if I'm getting more money, I'm going to be happier. I'm going to have less debt, all of the things, but then something bad's going to happen. Right. So I would attach that money is bad to the scenario. And that was really a struggle for me. But when I realized that that's how I thought, I was like, wow, I had no idea I was that messed up. Number one. And then I could really address it, right? And so a lot of us associate money, having more money with being greedy. And if I'm going to want more money, then obviously something bad's going to have to happen, right? In order for it to balance out. You have to have a rough life or something, somebody's going to die, or like literally this was my thought process, and not even realizing that I held this negative attachment to it. So I feel like I just wanted to share that story because I know that a lot of us struggle with these things, and we don't have a ton of time.
Actually, we are out of time for today. If you'd like to watch the rest of this show, we have part 2 on our page. The link is in the post. You won't want to miss out on what you can do to bust these money beliefs and get money flowing in your business. Thanks so much, guys. Oh, toast.
So okay. A little toast before we go, because, it wouldn't be tradition if we didn't do it. But get clear, get momentum, and get paid. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.